How's it going, everyone? It's Juan Romero here from Switchwatch, and I'm back with another indie review. Today it's a game called Celeste, which was provided to us by Matt Makes Games, so thank you very much indeed. Let's see whether this one is worth your hard-earned cash. Let's get into it. The story is something which took me by a complete surprise. We are talking about a story which covers relationships, psychological issues, the effects of social media, and other important subjects which we can all relate to in this modern world. I certainly didn't expect this from a 2D platformer with cute looking characters. From the moment you meet the old lady in her wooden cabin and you read the dialogue, you know that you're in for something just a little bit special here. It's a story I thoroughly enjoyed, and one which drew me into this vivid world upon the mountain, a journey of self-discovery which makes you think about your own life and not what's just going on in this game. It was like I was on a journey with Madeline, which is an absolute triumph to the writing which has gone into this game. I can appreciate that for some the dialogue may be a little bit too much, but you can skip this if needed. In terms of the audio, the music with this game is absolutely beautiful and really adds to the experience. It really deserves a huge amount of praise, and I would go as far as to say that it's one of the best soundtracks I have heard in a long while. It's not just the music choice, but how the music changes and varies between chapters and even between screens. Instruments all work together in conjunction to create a world which feels so inviting and alive. The way the music doesn't just cut out and loops, but it fades in the appropriate places and just at the right time to add that touch of quality and to keep you connected all the time. Those piano notes which play at just the right time and make everything on the mountain sound so mystical. The music choice for the game was absolutely perfect. I enjoyed every note. Sound effects are also great. When characters speak, there is a made up little language which just adds to the charm of this game. Jumps and dashes all sound spot on, and the music which plays between dialogue really just draws you further in. The wind on the mountain top makes it seem like a cold, natural, stunning place to be. So in terms of visuals and performance, the game itself runs perfectly both in docked mode and in handheld mode, and I did not encounter any issues at all, which is fantastic. Now visually I find the game to look gorgeous from a personal point of view, even though this has been done quite a few times before. Everything is pixelated and is obviously retro. Now pixel art is not to everyone's taste, so if you're not that into it and you've had your fill, then this isn't possibly going to change your mind. But if you're someone who judges a game by looks alone, then you're going to miss out on one of the best games of the year. Of that I am quite certain. Celeste has a similar type of aesthetic as the recent Slain Back from Hell. For me that's a massive compliment because I felt Slain was a good looking game in its own right. But this takes it a step further with how vivid everything looks and how the backgrounds always have something going on, again making everything feel almost like it has a lifelike quality. I love the way it snows on the mountain, or when you get to a log cabin and there's a fire outside burning and crackling. Chapter 4, for example, for me is stunning with its yellow, purples and blue colour palettes used all to beautiful effect. While it snows and the wind blows, we take our character jumping through the clouds. Absolutely stunning. I really liked our character shows through the animations if she's struggling to hold onto a ledge by shaking, for example, showing you that she's about to fall to her death, or how her hair colour changes when she's performed a dash. Now this is actually a very important signal to you as the player. When her hair changes from red to blue, it means her dash move has been used and won't reset until we hit the floor or a mid-air regeneration pad, so you need to use the dash move wisely to traverse the screens or the levels. Everything about Madeline is shown to you as the player, so you can judge how best to keep her alive. The cutscenes do a magnificent job of showing the emotions of the characters through their facial expressions, and each chapter looks really different to the last, which is a testament to the designers. So on to the gameplay. I've been waiting for a game like this for what seems like years. More often than not, you expect great things from a game, and the premise of the story of the gameplay is that it's going to offer something amazing, and more often than not, a game never really fulfills the hyperbole from the marketers. I've often thought, and apologies for going off on a slight tangent here, that games seem to have something special, which is not always easy to put your finger as to why you feel so much for them, or why they become ingrained in the mind for you to remember with fond memories far into the future. Now, as soon as Celeste loaded up, I felt it was going to be good. I don't know why, it just had that feeling. Part of it was the music, and the other part were the visuals when it loaded. Even though pixelated, it just does a great job of making you feel like you're somewhere else, somewhere mystical. It also has a charm, but that's not all this game has going for it. We hear a lot of games which are simple in the indie scene but don't offer enough depth. We've seen many games like this already on the Switch where after a few hours you're done with the game. After all, why should this be any different when all you have is a few basic moves at your disposal from the beginning? Now, our protagonist can jump and then dash through the air once in 8 directions. She can cling to walls, climb them by holding the trigger on the joypad, and she can also jump back off walls in the opposite direction. This game's not about defeating enemies, so there's no power-ups and your character won't get stronger as you go on. This is all about you against the mountain and overcoming each chapter made up of rooms with your platforming skills. This mountain is an absolute monster which will gobble you up and spit you out at every opportunity. The only respite is the story scenes, I kid you not. I would say that by the time you complete the game you can print off a certificate for yourself and be certified jump and dash specialist. Each chapter consists of a number of rooms, and some rooms are still and some are scrolling, and you'll have to work out how to get to the next room by performing a number of jumps combined with dashes and climbs without succumbing to the traps, which are all placed in a very clever way. You can die in multiple ways, and death is a very likely occurrence. Not only is it likely, but it should be applauded because it means you will have learned something for your next run at that particular room. It means the next time you're going to improve and get a little further. Your character doesn't get stronger, but you as the player get better. The more you play, the more you learn. There's spikes, chasms, ledges that disappear, traps, and some enemies to avoid, but the challenge is not in the combat, but in overcoming the levels themselves. The game has this perfect blend of challenge, but it's not so hard that you're not going to be able to complete any given room. You'll have to persevere though. Die and you respawn instantly, again from the beginning of the room, and some deaths from time to time do feel a little unfair, but mostly they'll be down to your misstep and will be the player's fault. I really enjoyed how this game is all about the levels themselves and how each one has a different mechanic, adding challenges even though you still have the same basic moves that you started out with. Some levels will require an extra dash, but you're only afforded one per jump. There are dash regeneration pads located in mid-air on some rooms, and you just have to touch them to get that extra dash. You'll need to use these to perform double dashes and get past some of the more complex rooms, which make for some very tense acrobats. The elation felt is incredible, especially when you've died about 200 times just to get to the next part of the chapter. The game, by the way, is not shy about showing you your death tally. There are platforms that when jumped on shoot across the screen. You have to time your jump so it propels you further, and this is the same when you jump on clouds to get you higher into some of the rooms. One wrong move and the sequence has to be performed again. Honestly, it feels like you're rehearsing to perform the perfect gymnastic routine at times, which is awesome when perfected. Chapter 2 sees some odd looking transparent black patches which you can shoot through at great speeds to reach places you would not otherwise be able to reach. Shoot into a wall though and it's certain death, so directing Madeline is crucial. The game is impressive how it's constantly able to evolve. Some levels require you to go through them at a frantic pace, and these are its version of boss battles. You have no time to think as you're getting chased down, and you'll have to perform jumps and dashes really quickly. These parts are seriously tense and frustrating because when you die you have to start from the beginning, but once achieved it feels fantastic. And when I say the beginning, I mean the beginning of the last room that you got to. In terms of the controls, controlling our protagonist is an absolute joy. Everything feels just right, it's spot on, which it needs to be when jumps and dashes must be precise. It's worth noting on the Switch version is how the game makes use of the HD rumble. Every jump signifies a little rumble and every dash uses a rumble to immerse you even further. As you progress further up the mountain, the challenges get stiffer as you might expect. Along the way you'll meet a bunch of characters which I'm not going to spoil, suffice to say the dialogue is excellently written and I found myself identifying with many of the issues discussed and talked about. What I love the most is how the whole atmosphere of the game comes together to create something which feels more substantial, and controlling Madeline further up the mountain is an emotional and joyous experience. There are secrets hidden throughout the game, and for those of you looking for a sterner challenge, strawberries, like bandages in Super Meat Boy, are hidden throughout each chapter and sometimes are in plain sight. The ones that are staring you in the face though look simple and rarely are, and they're going to require you to probably die many times before being successful in acquiring that strawberry. And just touching it and dying is not going to cut it here. You have to get to a safe platform before the strawberry registers. Keep a lookout also for those B-side tapes. Find one of these and you get to play a more challenging version of the chapter. B-side tapes are hidden in every chapter, and after completing the game and going back to complete the B-sides of the level is where the real challenge lies. If you thought the game itself was hard, wait until you try these out. You're in for a shock. It's also a fantastic way to show how far you've come and how much you've learned. When I started Celeste, I thought it was difficult until I learned each part of the level. It's only when playing the B-side levels that I realised how much harder it could be and how much I still had to learn and practice. The music switches on the B-side levels and you know you're in for it. There are tons of secrets hidden in parts of the mountain which are not always obvious, so exploring is key if you want to complete the game perfectly. For those of you who like speed, you can also turn on the speed timer in the options menu and speed run every chapter if you desire. So there is something here for everyone, for your speedrunner, your completionist, your casual gamer or your hardcore gamer. In terms of value, Celeste is $19.99 and £17.99 in the UK, and it's definitely worth your hard-earned cash. It's worth every single penny. You're looking at about 8 hours to complete the game dependent on your skill level, and a further 15 to 20 hours to complete the game 100%, perhaps even more than that. It'll probably take me until 2019 to get all those strawberries and complete all the B-side levels. So on to my verdict. Celeste is one of those games that doesn't come around very often and is one of those games I talk about which will be remembered in years to come. Everything this game does, it does well. Every decision the developer has made, I cannot argue with or really criticise here. The story we can all relate to and identify with, which will make you feel for the characters. The music is outstanding at creating an atmosphere which makes you believe you're up there on the mountain. It's beautifully composed. Many will say that these types of visuals don't belong in 2018. I'd strongly disagree. This game showcases that you can still make a beautiful game without huge budgets. In any case, it's easy to overlook when the gameplay is this mesmerising and fun. This is a game on Switch that everyone should own. It's absolutely essential, and this is a new standard to which 2D platformers should aspire to. 9.5 out of 10. One of my favourite indie games so far on the Nintendo Switch. I really hope you've enjoyed this review, guys, and if you did, leave me a comment down below, hit that thumbs up button, and if you're a new watcher, consider subscribing. My name's Juan Romero from Switch Watch, and I'll see you on the next one.